I woke up alone in bed just like any other Tuesday. I assumed Amanda went for her morning run. The house was quiet as I made coffee, then froze. A manila envelope sat on our kitchen counter. Inside were divorce papers citing irreconcilable differences. No explanation, no warning signs after 5 happy years of marriage. I frantically called Amanda's cell, straight to voicemail. Her closet was half empty. Essential items gone. Days turned to weeks, with no word. Not a text, not a call. Nothing. It was like she vanished into thin air. If you've ever felt your world collapse without warning, let me know where you're watching from, and subscribe to hear how I discovered the truth behind my wife's disappearance. Our life together seemed perfect, at least from the outside. Amanda and I met in college during our junior year, dated for 2 years, and had been married for 5. We bought a beautiful 3-bedroom home in suburban Seattle last year, with a backyard big enough for the children we planned to have soon. I worked as a software developer for a tech company downtown, while Amanda was a marketing executive at a prestigious firm. Her career was taking off with a recent promotion that she celebrated by organizing a dinner party for our closest friends. Everyone thought we had the perfect relationship. Just 3 weeks before she disappeared, we took a vacation to Hawaii, where we snorkeled, hiked to waterfalls, and spent evenings watching the sunset on the beach. The photos I posted on social media got hundreds of likes and comments about what a beautiful couple we were. We had been actively discussing starting a family within the next year. Amanda had even stopped taking birth control 2 months prior. We turned the smallest bedroom into a home office, but joked about how it would make a perfect nursery someday. Our friends Jordan and Lisa often told us they envied our relationship, especially how we seemed to navigate disagreements with such ease and understanding. Nothing in our daily interactions suggested any problems. We still kissed goodbye every morning, texted each other during the day, and talked about our daily experiences over dinner. I thought I knew my wife better than anyone in the world. I was wrong. That Tuesday morning in April changed everything. I remember every detail with painful clarity. The sun was streaming through our bedroom curtains when I woke up at 7:15 a.m. The spot next to me was empty, which was normal. Amanda usually went for a 5-mile run at 6:30. I stretched, brushed my teeth, and headed to the kitchen to start the coffee maker. That is when I saw the envelope. Plain manila, my name written on it in Amanda's neat handwriting. At first I thought it might be a birthday surprise, though my birthday was still 3 months away. I opened it casually, expecting concert tickets or a gift certificate. Instead, I found divorce papers. The legal language swam before my eyes. Petition for dissolution of marriage. Irreconcilable differences. I read it 3 times before the reality began to sink in. This had to be a mistake, a cruel joke. Amanda and I were happy. We never even had serious fights. How could there be irreconcilable differences when we never even discussed any problems? My hands shook as I pulled out my phone and called her. Straight to voicemail. I texted, "What is this? Please call me. We need to talk." The message showed as delivered but remained unread. That is when panic set in. I rushed back to our bedroom and opened Amanda's closet. About half her clothes were missing. Her suitcase was gone. In the bathroom, her toothbrush, favorite shampoo, and makeup bag had disappeared. She had taken only essentials, leaving behind most of her possessions, including the diamond necklace I gave her for our anniversary. The coffee maker beeped, but I ignored it. I called Amanda again and again. Nothing. I sent more texts, each more desperate than the last. I even checked our location sharing app, but she had turned off her phone or disabled the feature. It was like she had vanished without a trace. I called in sick to work and spent the day in a daze. By evening, I started contacting others. First, I called her workplace. The receptionist sounded uncomfortable when I asked to speak with Amanda. "I am sorry, Mr. Porter, but Amanda has requested a leave of absence for personal reasons. We were told not to expect her for several weeks." She had planned this. The realization hit me like a physical blow. This was not a spontaneous decision, but something she had arranged in advance, without telling me anything. Next, I called Sophia, Amanda's closest friend since high school. The conversation was awkward and strained. "Johnny, I do not know what to tell you. Amanda asked me not to get involved. involved in what Sophia, my wife, left divorce papers and disappeared. Did you know about this? A long pause followed. I cannot break her confidence. I am sorry. Sophia's evasive response only deepened my confusion and hurt. I could tell she knew something but had chosen loyalty to Amanda over telling me the truth. I drove to Amanda's parents' house that evening. Her mother answered the door with a strange expression, a mix of sadness and something else. Discomfort, guilt. Is Amanda here? I asked immediately. No, Johnny, she is not. We have not seen her, her father said, appearing behind his wife. Did you know she was planning to leave me? They exchanged a glance that confirmed my suspicions. We think you both need some space, her mother said carefully. Amanda needs to figure some things out. Figure what out? Everything was fine. What is going on? They refused to say more simply, suggesting, I respect Amanda's decision. I left their house feeling betrayed not just by my wife, but by her entire family. When I got home, I checked our bank accounts. Amanda had withdrawn $20,000 from our joint savings account 3 days earlier. Not everything, but a significant amount. I found her wedding ring in her jewelry box, placed carefully in its center, as if to ensure I would see it. The next day, I went to the police station, but they refused to file a missing person report. The divorce papers and the planned leave of absence from work indicated this was a voluntary departure. Without evidence of foul play, there was nothing they could do. The days blurred together. I could not eat or sleep properly. Work became impossible, as I could not focus on anything. I took a leave of absence using my accumulated vacation days. Friends called and visited, offering support, but I could sense they were holding back. Some seemed to know more than they were telling me. Others appeared to be choosing sides, already pulling away from me, as if I had done something wrong. A month passed with no contact from Amanda. My mental state deteriorated, as confusion gave way to a deep sense of abandonment and betrayal. I cycled through anger, grief, and desperate hope that she would call to explain everything. I became obsessive about checking my phone, email, and social media for any sign of her. Amanda's profiles remained untouched, since before she left her last posts, showing pictures from our Hawaii trip, with captions about love and happiness. The contrast between those images and my current reality was too painful to bear. Rumors began circulating among our social circle. Some suggested infidelity, others wondered if I had been abusive. The whispers hurt almost as much as Amanda's disappearance. I had been a devoted husband, and now my character was being questioned based on speculation. As friends slowly distanced themselves, I sank deeper into isolation. The house that once felt like a happy home became a monument to my failure to understand my own marriage. I started sleeping on the couch, unable to face our empty bed. Eventually, I found a therapist who specialized in abandonment trauma. Dr. Winters helped me process my feelings and begin the difficult work of accepting that I might never get the answers I desperately wanted. She suggested that sometimes people leave relationships not because of what their partner did wrong, but because of their own internal struggles. You may never know exactly why Amanda left the way she did, she told me during one session. The question is, how do you move forward with your life regardless? It was a question I was nowhere near ready to answer. 2 months after Amanda's disappearance, I was cleaning our bathroom when I found it. A prescription bottle, tucked behind some rarely used items in the medicine cabinet. The label read, sertraline 100 milligrams, with Amanda's name on it. The prescription was dated 6 months earlier. I searched online and discovered it was a medication for treating severe anxiety and depression. Amanda had never mentioned any mental health struggles. She always seemed confident, put together, the one who supported others through their problems. Had she been suffering in silence? Why had she not told me? This discovery sent me searching through the house for other clues I might have missed. In her home office, I found a journal hidden inside a hollowed-out copy of Pride and Prejudice on her bookshelf. I hesitated before opening it, feeling like I was violating her privacy, but I needed answers. The journal entries dated back about a year. The early pages described familiar events, but through a lens I had never seen. Amanda wrote about feeling increasingly anxious at work, afraid of failing to meet expectations. She mentioned putting on a happy face, while feeling empty inside. Johnny would not understand, she wrote. He sees the world as a series of problems to be solved. My brain is not a problem he can fix with logic and reassurance. I cannot bear to disappoint him by being broken. Each entry became progressively darker. She described feeling trapped by the perfect image we presented to the world. The pressure from her family to maintain appearances. The exhaustion of pretending to be happy. Then I found mentions of someone named Marcus. Marcus says, I need a clean break to truly heal. That sometimes the kindest thing is to leave without drawing it out. I do not know if I have the courage. I closed the journal overwhelmed with conflicting emotions. Hurt that she had not trusted me with her pain. Angry that she had assumed my reaction instead of giving me a chance. But also deeply sad thinking of Amanda suffering alone, while I remained oblivious. Armed with this new information, I confronted Sophia. This time I refused to accept her evasions. I found Amanda's medication and her journal. I know she was struggling with depression. What I do not know is why no one, including you, thought I deserved to know my wife was in pain. Sophia's resolve crumbled. We sat in a coffee shop as she finally revealed what she knew. Amanda has been struggling for years, Johnny. Long before she met you. Her parents always pushed her to be perfect and never show weakness. When the depression returned last year, she was terrified you would see her differently. Why would she think that I would have supported her, gotten her help? Sophia looked at me sympathetically. That is exactly what she was afraid of. You trying to fix her instead of just understanding that sometimes there is no fix. She said you always needed to solve problems, and she could not bear being your project instead of your partner. The conversation continued, revealing more painful truths. Amanda's parents had been dismissive of her mental health struggles since she was a teenager. They believed depression was just weakness or lack of gratitude. They had pressured her to maintain the image of a perfect marriage, despite her deteriorating condition. Her breaking point came after that big presentation she messed up at work, Sophia admitted. She had a panic attack in her office. Her boss was understanding, but Amanda was mortified. She felt like a fraud in every aspect of her life. The next day, I visited Amanda's workplace and spoke with her assistant Tara. Initially reluctant, Tara eventually shared that Amanda had been under intense pressure to deliver results for a major client. When the campaign underperformed, Amanda took it as a personal failure. She locked herself in her office for hours that day, Tara said. When she came out, she requested the leave of absence and said she needed to make some changes in her life. I asked about Marcus, the name from Amanda's journal. Dr. Marcus Feldman. He is the therapist several executives see. The company offers confidential mental health services. Amanda started seeing him about 8 months ago. So Marcus was not a lover or friend, but a therapist who had encouraged her to make a clean break. I felt a surge of anger toward this doctor, who had advised my wife to disappear, instead of communicating honestly. I was angry at everyone who had known Amanda was suffering but said nothing to me. Her parents, Sophia, her co-workers, and this Dr. Feldman, all had been complicit in maintaining Amanda's secret struggle until it culminated in her drastic departure. With my savings dwindling after months without focusing on work, I made one last investment. I hired a private investigator named Ray to track Amanda down. I wasn't sure what I would do if he found her, but I needed to know she was safe. 2 weeks later, Ray called with news. He had traced Amanda's credit card to a small coastal town in Oregon called Seaside. She had been renting a cottage there for the past 6 weeks. I was faced with a difficult decision. Should I go to her? Try to understand what happened and see if our marriage could be saved? Or should I respect her choice to leave, however painful and abrupt it had been? I discussed it with Dr. Winters during our next therapy session. Before you make any decision, Johnny, consider your motivations. Are you looking for closure, reconciliation, or just answers? And what about Amanda's boundaries? She chose to leave without discussion. Showing up uninvited might not be what she needs, regardless of your intentions. After much reflection, I decided not to pursue Amanda directly. Instead, I wrote her a letter expressing my feelings without accusations or demands. I told her I had found her journal and medication, that I was sorry she felt she could not share her struggles with me. I assured her that I would have loved her through any challenges if given the chance. Finally, I wished her healing and peace whatever path she chose. I asked Ray to deliver the letter to the Oregon address, but not to make contact with Amanda or report back on her reaction. Then I waited, not expecting a response, but hoping for one nonetheless. Weeks passed with no word. I gradually accepted that our marriage was truly over, not just in legal terms, but emotionally as well. I focused on my own healing, returning to work, and reconnecting with friends who had stood by me. I started processing the divorce paperwork that had sat untouched since that Tuesday morning. Then Ray called with unexpected news. He had discovered that Amanda had checked out of the Oregon cottage 3 weeks earlier. Further investigation revealed she had checked into a residential mental health treatment facility in Portland. She was diagnosed with severe depression and generalized anxiety disorder, Ray explained. From what I gathered, she had been planning her departure for months. The pressure became too much, and she felt unable to face you directly. Ray had also uncovered that Marcus in her journal referred not to Dr. Feldman specifically, but to the Marcus Institute, where she received outpatient treatment before her departure. The clean break was their standard approach for patients who felt trapped in situations that exacerbated their conditions. Finally, Ray discovered that Amanda's parents had recently cut her off financially after she refused to keep her mental health treatment private. They were ashamed of her condition and wanted her to pull herself together rather than seek professional help. These revelations shifted something in me. Amanda's disappearance was not about me failing as a husband. It was about her mental health crisis and inability to face conflict directly. Her parents' shame and the pressure to maintain appearances had made honest communication impossible for her. With this new understanding, I filed my response to the divorce petition. As painful as it was, I recognized that Amanda had made her choice, and I needed to respect it for both our sakes. It was time to move forward alone. The following months brought gradual healing. I returned to work full-time and reconnected with supportive friends who had given me space during my darkest period. I joined a hiking group, something Amanda had never enjoyed, and discovered a love for outdoor photography. I redecorated our house, painting the walls colors Amanda had vetoed and arranging the furniture to suit my preferences. The process of making the space truly mine helped exorcise some painful memories. I replaced our wedding photo on the mantle with a picture of the Olympic mountains I had taken during a solo camping trip. At Dr. Winter's suggestion, I began dating casually, though I was upfront with everyone about my recent experience. Most of these connections remained casual, but they helped me regain confidence and reminded me that there could be life after Amanda. The divorce proceedings continued in Amanda's absence, with her lawyer handling everything. I did not contest any of her requests, wanting only to finalize this chapter of my life. I was healing, learning to trust my perceptions again, and recognizing that I deserved someone who could communicate honestly even during difficult times. It was a Friday evening in November, 4 months after Amanda left, when the doorbell rang. I was making stir-fry in the kitchen, music playing, a glass of wine on the counter. I wasn't expecting anyone, probably a delivery or a neighbor. I opened the door and felt like I had been punched in the stomach. Amanda stood on our porch, except she barely resembled the woman who had left. She was thin, almost gaunt, with dark circles under her eyes. Her once shoulder-length brown hair was cut short, and she wore no makeup. She looked fragile and exhausted, nothing like the polished, confident woman who had shared my life. "Johnny," she said, her voice small. "Can I come in?" I could not speak. Shock, anger, relief, confusion, all warred within me. After a moment, I stepped aside to let her enter, still not trusting my voice. Amanda walked into our living room and stood awkwardly looking around at the changes I had made. The blue walls that replaced the beige she had chosen. The new sectional sofa instead of our old love seat. The absence of her decorative pillows and throws. "You have changed things," she said finally. Yes, it was all I could manage. An uncomfortable silence stretched between us. Finally, I gestured toward the couch. "Do you want to sit?" She perched on the edge of the sofa, hands clasped tightly in her lap. I sat in the armchair across from her, maintaining distance. The woman I had once known intimately now felt like a stranger. "I do not know where to begin," Amanda said, her voice breaking. How about with why you left without talking to me, or why you have returned now after months of silence? The words came out harsher than I intended, but I could not soften them. 4 months of pain and confusion had built a protective wall around my heart. Amanda's eyes filled with tears. I was not thinking clearly. I have been struggling with depression for years, Johnny, long before I met you. She described her mental health crisis in detail, confirming much of what I had pieced together. The pressure at work had triggered a severe depressive episode. Her therapist at the Marcus Institute had suggested a separation might help her focus on recovery without the pressure of maintaining appearances. I convinced myself a clean break would be easier for both of us, she explained, wiping tears. I thought you deserved someone whole, not someone broken like me. The divorce papers seemed kinder than asking you to wait for me to get better, when I was not sure I ever would. She described her time at the residential treatment facility, the intensive therapy, the medication adjustments. How she began to recognize the toxic patterns she had learned from her family. My parents always taught me to hide my problems to maintain the perfect image no matter what. When I refused to keep my treatment secret anymore, they cut me off completely. Her voice shook as she continued. I have no job, no money left. I have been living in my car for the past week. I have nowhere else to go. She looked up at me, eyes pleading. I know I have no right to ask anything of you after how I left, but I need help, Johnny. I thought maybe we could try again. I still love you. I never stopped. The request hit me like a tidal wave. After months of abandonment and confusion, after finally beginning to heal, Amanda wanted to return, as if we could simply pick up the pieces of our shattered relationship. I need some time, I said, standing up. There is food on the stove. I have to think. I walked to our backyard and stood in the cool evening air, my mind racing. Amanda's suffering was real. Her mental health struggles explained her actions, but they did not erase the pain she had caused. Could I open myself to that vulnerability again? Should I doctor? Winter's words echoed in my mind. You cannot rescue someone from their own journey. Supporting them is not the same as sacrificing yourself. After 20 minutes of internal debate, I returned to the living room with clarity. Amanda sat exactly where I had left her, looking small and afraid. I will help you, I said, sitting across from her, but not the way you are asking. I explained that she could stay in our guest room temporarily. I would provide financial assistance to help her get back on her feet. But reconciliation was not on the table. The divorce proceedings will continue, I said firmly. What we had is gone, Amanda. Not just because you left, but because it was built on a foundation of secrets and unspoken pain. Her face crumpled. I thought you would forgive me, that you would understand once you knew about my depression. I do understand and I do forgive you, I replied gently. But understanding and forgiveness do not obligate me to rebuild a relationship that caused us both suffering. You need to focus on your recovery, and I need to protect the healing I have fought hard to achieve. I outlined clear terms for our temporary arrangement. She would stay maximum 3 months. I would help her find work and stable housing. I would support her continuing treatment. But we would live as respectful roommates, not as husband and wife. I can be your friend, Amanda. I can help you through this difficult time. But I cannot be your husband anymore. Amanda's initial reaction mixed gratitude and disappointment. Part of her had genuinely expected that her return would reset everything. She argued that her mental illness explained her actions, that she deserved another chance now that she was getting proper treatment. You deserve happiness and health, I agreed. But so do I, and I cannot find that by going backward. Eventually, she reluctantly accepted my terms. That night, I made up the guest room bed with fresh sheets and showed her where everything was. The awkwardness between us was palpable. This woman had been my wife, my best friend, my lover, and now she was essentially a house guest with whom I shared a painful history. The following weeks brought challenges I had not anticipated. Living with Amanda as she worked to rebuild her life tested my boundaries daily. She would sometimes slip into old patterns, making my favorite breakfast or suggesting we watch our show. Each time I gently but firmly reinforced the new reality of our relationship. I helped her update her resume, and connected her with a former colleague who was hiring. I researched affordable apartments in safe neighborhoods. I drove her to therapy appointments and made sure she took her medication consistently. At times, the caretaking role felt uncomfortably familiar. Dr. Winters warned me about falling into rescuer patterns and reminded me that supporting Amanda's independence was different from assuming responsibility for her well-being. There were difficult moments when Amanda's parents reached out demanding she return home and stop airing the family's dirty laundry. I found myself standing up to them on her behalf, telling them their shame and denial had contributed to their daughter's suffering. It was the first time I had confronted them directly, and though it changed nothing in their attitude, it felt important for Amanda to witness someone defending her right to seek help. As the weeks passed, I rediscovered aspects of Amanda I had almost forgotten. Her quick wit when she felt comfortable, her artistic eye and creativity, her kindness toward strangers. These glimpses of the woman I had fallen in love with sometimes made me question my decision to proceed with the divorce. There were moments of temptation, a laugh shared over dinner, an accidental touch when reaching for the same item, the familiar scent of her shampoo in the hallway. Each time I had to remind myself of the pain of her abandonment and the fundamental breach of trust that could not be repaired, simply because I understood its origins better now. Amanda gradually stabilized. With proper medication, regular therapy, and the pressure of maintaining appearances lifted, she began to show genuine growth. She secured a position at a smaller marketing firm that offered better work-life balance. She found an affordable one-bedroom apartment within walking distance of public transportation. As she became more independent, she also came to accept that our marriage was truly over. Our conversations shifted from her attempts to reconcile to discussions about the lessons we had both learned and how we might carry them forward into future relationships. 2 months after her unexpected return, Amanda was ready to move into her new apartment. I helped her pack and load the few belongings she had, plus some furniture and household items I no longer needed. The process was bittersweet, but no longer agonizing. On moving day, we met with our lawyers to sign the final divorce papers. Sitting across from each other in the conference room, we both acknowledged how far we had come from that terrible Tuesday morning when she left the first set of papers on our kitchen counter. After the signing, we stood in the parking lot for a final conversation. "Thank you," Amanda said sincerely. "You had every right to turn me away that night. Most people would have. I will never forget your kindness when I least deserved it. We both deserved better than what we had," I replied. "You deserved support for your mental health without shame or judgment. I deserved honesty and the chance to be a true partner, not an unwitting participant in a performance of happiness. I have learned so much," she said, "about communication, about honesty, about not hiding my struggles. Whatever relationship I build in the future will be healthier because of these hard lessons." "Same here," I agreed. "I will pay more attention to what is not being said. I will create space for difficult conversations instead of assuming silence means contentment." We hugged goodbye, a genuine embrace without romantic undertones. It represented something I had not thought possible months earlier: closure without bitterness. Amanda got into her car and drove toward her new apartment, while I returned home alone. 1 year after finding those divorce papers, my life had transformed entirely. The pain that once consumed me had evolved into wisdom I carried forward. I had learned to recognize the difference between helping someone and rescuing them. I understood that love sometimes means letting go rather than holding on tighter. I had developed deeper emotional resilience and greater trust in my perceptions. When I eventually began a serious relationship with Lena, a photographer I met through my hiking group, I approached it with new awareness. We talked openly about mental health from the beginning. We established patterns of honest communication about difficult subjects. We respected each other's boundaries and independence. Occasionally, I received updates from Amanda. She continued her treatment and had joined a support group for others with similar struggles. She had reconnected with her younger sister, the only family member who supported her mental health journey. She was building a life authentic to her needs rather than others' expectations. These updates no longer brought pain, but a quiet satisfaction that we had both found better paths forward, even if those paths had diverged. The experience had taught me that sometimes the greatest act of courage is choosing what is right over what is familiar. If you have ever faced a situation where someone returned to your life after causing you pain, what did you decide? How do you balance compassion with self-protection? Share your experience in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need to hear that choosing yourself is not selfish but necessary. Thank you for listening, and remember that healing is not linear, but it is always possible.